The Antiquities War, a conflict on the continent of Phyrexia waged by two brothers, pitted against one another, and using technologies from a long-lost race of people. The war would kill millions and have lasting repercussions on the plane of Dominaria that would bring about a great ice age. This brothers' war was not decided by its bloody battles, the cities that were leveled, or by the giant machines of land and air, but rather by secret moves and pacts made in the shadows. And nothing shaped the war more than the ambitions of one woman. Using cunning tactics, grotesque creations, a sharp tongue, and ultimately driven by spite for an old lover, she pulled the strings of both sides, and it was her choices that decided the fate of the planet. Her story is one of scorned lovers, unlikely friendships, grim betrayals, and even with her cold heart, a love for the land that birthed her. This is the story of Ashnod. Ashnod was a gifted artificer who had an obsession with human and animal physiology. The biological mechanisms of living things heavily influenced her inventions. She viewed the human body as a machine and sought to understand its mysteries. To Ashnod, the pursuit of this knowledge was worth any cost, even if it meant enslaving human test subjects and dissecting them alive. Her cruel techniques earned her the moniker, Ashnod the Uncaring. Ashnod rose to prominence working as the chief artificer for the province of Zegon. It was in this role she invented the infamous staffs of Zegon, made from black thunderwood and topped by a small serpent skull tangled in copper wire. The device used invisible electricity to attack the nervous system of living beings and certain artifact creatures, incapacitating them. These staffs were so powerful that when used in numbers they could keep even dragon engines at bay. Their use did come at a cost, leaving the user more weakened after each use. When the military campaign of the Sulwardi, a Phyrexia tribe, threatened Zegon, Ashnod was empowered by the rulers of the province to negotiate with the wizard of the Sulwardi, a man named Mishra. Ashnod, who had heard many stories of Mishra, was more than happy to accept the role of ambassador, not because she cared to protect Zegon, but for selfish reasons. She knew that he was an artificer like herself and hoped that she could study his machines and perhaps form a partnership. She showed Mishra her staff and provided him with intelligent conversation, something rare among the Phyrexia. Impressed by her, Mishra negotiated the surrender of Zegon, with part of the deal being Ashnod must remain with the Sulwardi as Mishra's assistant. And yes, Ashnod did get her kitty fed that night. As time passed, Ashnod became accepted, or at least tolerated by the desert-dwelling, patriarchal Sulwardi people. Red hair was rare in the desert and was taken as an evil omen, which made some of the Sulwardi suspicious of her. Rumors of her inhuman experiments didn't help. Still, many of the tribe respected her tactical genius and ambition, often earning her the greatest compliment a woman could get from a Phyrexia.
You think like a man.
Ashnod did not see this as the accolade it was meant to be. resulting in the speaker meeting the electric end of her staff more than once. Being Mishra's assistant and confidant kept her safe from retaliation in these cases. As his companion, Ashnod learned that Mishra was not born Phyrexia, but was from the kingdom of Argive. He was taken as a slave by the Sawadi at a young age. He then progressed from slave to tutor of the Sawadi prince, and then to wizard, or Raki, in Phyrexia town. He was given this title for his ability to control machines and artifacts using a magical power stone that he kept around his neck at all times. The greatest of the machines controlled by Mishra was a giant dragon engine. The title Raki carried with it the roles of military advisor and ambassador. It was acting in these roles that he, with Ashnod at his side, traveled with the Sawadi ruler to the town of Koralinda to negotiate peace with the kingdom of Yosha. Upon arriving in Koralinda, Mishra discovered that his older brother Urza was prince of Krug, the capital of Yosha, thus making his older brother first in line for the throne of Yosha. The negotiations had barely begun when the Yoshan military ambushed the Sawadi with great flying machines called ornithopters. Using her staff and his dragon engine, Ashnod and Mishra were able to escape. In the commotion of the ambush, the Sawadi ruler managed to slaughter the leader of Yosha, the warlord of Krug. With the warlord dead, Mishra's brother Urza now assumed the reins of power in Yosha, and thus began the brothers' war. After the ambush at Koralinda, Mishra realized he needed more powerful machines to fight his brother. To that end, he and Ashnod traveled to the caves of Koilos, a cavern filled with ancient Thran artifacts where Mishra originally found his power stone. They traveled in the confines of Mishra's dragon engine. It was hot and cramped, and to make matters worse, Mishra lectured Ashnod the whole trip about how she might better her conduct among the Phyrexia. And any hazardous obstacle they came across, Mishra sent Ashnod to investigate, saying,
"You're the apprentice. That means if a task is dangerous or unpleasant, it's your job."
After over 2 weeks of cramped travel, they arrived at the caves in the heart of the desert. They hiked deep into the caverns until they came across a room with many giant machines. The centermost machine was made of giant plates and mirrors. Mishra found a cavity within the machine and stuck a power stone into the void. The machine hummed alive. The walls of the cavern glittered with bright glyphs and lights. Ashnod ran her finger over one of the glyphs. A low chime sounded within the caverns, and a glowing disk formed in the air with the shape of a star scribed in it. The disk grew until it was twice the size of her. It was a portal. She stuck the end of her staff in and pulled it back, unharmed. Mishra then motioned for her to enter the portal. Stepping through the light, she was immediately overwhelmed by a smell of rot and oil and chemicals. She looked around. She was in a jungle of dark leaves, vines, and flowers leaking a caustic black oil. A dragonfly buzzed past her and landed on a flower. But something wasn't right. She looked closer at the bud. It was a machine, and the vines, cables, the leaves, metal plates. She had entered a world of machines.
Yes, it is just as I remembered it from my dreams. Phyrexia.
Together they traveled through the metal jungle until they came across a pond of black oil. Within the dark liquid, Ashnod saw 3 giant metal beasts that were similar to the dragon engine Mishra commanded. She was nervous as the machines approached until Mishra showed that he could also control these machines. Mishra only had a few minutes to test his control of the Phyrexian dragon engines before a great bell rang in the distance. It chimed again, then again, closer with each ring, and Ashnod could hear the sound of twisting and rending metallic vegetation. The forest to the left of her disappeared, and a giant machine burst out of the jungle. It was shaped like a land-going ship, set on treads, with a great maw set into its prow. Within the maw were spinning sets of teeth, like great scythes. They ripped through the plants and trees of the jungle with ease. When it struck a particularly large tree, the shattered bits of trunk made the booming bell-like noise. And standing above the mouth on the platform was a tall, demonic figure. Mishra yelled,
Run!
Ashnod sprinted behind Mishra towards the portal. She looked back only once at the pursuing machine and saw the giant construct ram into one of the dragon engines, the smaller machine disappearing in its maw. The vegetation came alive and tried to snare her as she ran, cutting her and burning her with acid. She made it to the portal, Mishra already waiting, and dived in headfirst. Once Ashnod was safely through the portal, Mishra frantically began pressing glyphs, finally yanking the power stone from the machine. The disk of light winked out of existence.
If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe.